It's Monday night, and we're sharpening our takes. You're tuned into The Cut, hosted by Thomas Robb.
Good evening, everybody. It is April 2nd in the year of our Lord 2025, and I am Tom Roth here with The Cut. As always, we are produced by Anthony Aquendo, the multi-talented young man from Ashtabula. Excellent partner to have in this venture that we've got going on here. We definitely thank you guys for tuning in on a beautiful Tuesday evening. We apologize that we weren't able to do this last night. We had a lot going on, trying to just sort life out in addition to doing this as well, and just being part of our jobs. You know what I mean? Monday night I was late night at my car dealership. Couldn't get anything going there, but we're here tonight. We're going to be talking the men's Final Four that's coming up. We're going to be talking about some thoughts I have on Ohio State basketball and the state of Ohio State basketball. We might foray into the women's college basketball space, and I wanted to punctuate the show tonight, ending it with a fun little thing with some lists. We're going to have some fun with lists tonight. Sheldon Cooper on The Big Bang Theory had fun with flags. We're going to have fun with lists this evening. So I definitely want to thank you guys for tuning in again. We're coming up on 3 years of this show existing. We certainly appreciate you guys being here with us. If you're a day one listener, or if you're just tuning in now, we love you guys. Thank you very much. And the show's not possible without sponsors. We've always got Cracked, and now we've got a new sponsor that's come on in the past month or so. We want to thank Kippy's Cakes out in Ashtabula, and Megan, the owner of Kippy's Cakes, is an absolutely dynamic and fantastic baker. She is starting a new venture in her cake and baking career, wherein she is going to be debuting a stand coming soon, date to be determined, but that will be able to service all your sourdough bread needs, sourdough starter needs, if you need some cake pops, if you need some brownies, if you need some cookies, rabbit mix, anything like that. Megan at Kippy's Cakes and Kippy's Cake Stand will have that as well. I think she's thinking of a new name for the cake stand. It's not going to be Kippy's Cake Stand, but maybe Kippy's Bakes. Maybe that'd be a cool one. That'd be cool. So Megan, if you're listening, maybe take my advice on that one. I think that's $1 million idea. But we want to get right into it tonight. We're starting a little late. Usually we like getting in here at about 7:30 with you guys, but with work and everything, this is the only time that we could do it. So let's hop right in to the men's Final Four matchups and a little bit of a preview here. So, the first game on the docket is going to be the Houston Cougars going against the Duke Blue Devils. Now, a fun fact about this Final Four, guys. This Final Four is the first Final Four since 2008 to feature all number one seeds as the Final Four team. I think this year more than ever, it's been more apparent than not that what we need to do is stop listening to all the pundits. All the pundits say that it never happens. The Final Four is never filled with number one seeds all the way around. The pundits also said that you should throw Georgia into the Final Four as a 9 seed. Now, a 9 seed going to the Final Four is not that crazy. It happens. It's happened quite recently, within the last 8 years, I believe, actually. But, needless to say, in this era of NIL, the rich get richer, right? So teams like the Duke Blue Devils, the Auburn Tigers, the Houston Cougars, and the Florida Gators are just going to continue to reap those benefits. And it's not just because they're getting these great NIL players. They're also the proprietors of fantastic coaching. A team like Duke, who saw Mike Krzyzewski, the legendary Army and Duke point guard and player and coach, retire, and his successor John Shayer, a former point guard at Duke that played for Krzyzewski, comes in and seamlessly leads this program to a Final Four. I mean, it's absolutely insane, right? We are seeing the Duke Blue Devils come back to national prominence, led on the back of three young men, Con Knipple, Kamen Maluich, and Cooper Flagg. Cooper Flagg being the crown jewel of that recruiting class. Cooper Flagg, white boy Coop, that guy has been leading his team. Had a bit of an ankle injury recently, but came back and battled that, and now is leading his team as the point forward into the Final Four. Now, the Houston Cougars aren't without some studs. They aren't without some studs. They just in the Elite Eight blew out Tennessee 50-69, the tune of that score, with guys like LJ Cryer, who didn't show up in the Sweet 16 with 3 points, but LJ Cryer rebounded in a big way with 17 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists for the Cougars. And Milos Uzan, 6 points, 3 assists, and Emmanuel Sharp, the young man that you're about to see on the screen, Mr. Emmanuel Sharp, dropping 16 points on those Tennessee Volunteers. That was absolutely awesome.
No, overlays aren't working right now.
The overlays aren't working right now.
They'll pop up, but they go away. I mean, I'll try to get them as I go, but yeah, we'll try to work with it. Just keep going. I'll flow with you.
All right, baby. All right. Well, all right. So let's talk about Emmanuel Sharp. So Emmanuel Sharp, absolutely pivotal for Houston in this tournament run. In the tournament, he has had some standout performances. Let's go back to the second round against Texas A&M when Mr. Sharp hit a 30 burger. Excuse me, I can't even think tonight. And in that 30 burger, he put up 7 triples. 7 triples, guys. Absolutely insane. The college game is absolutely going the way of the NBA with the threes flying, and Emmanuel Sharp is as sharp shooting as you can believe. He's been averaging a little over 12.5 points per game for the season. He is the consistent scorer that Houston has desperately needed. The college game, you definitely see a distribution amongst scoring, right? It's in the NBA, you have your 8-man rotations or 9-man rotations, 10 if you're the Cavs. Kenny Atkinson wants to go 10 deep in the playoffs, which is absolutely wild to me. But the Houston Cougars definitely can go 12 deep. They are probably the deepest team in this tournament. Probably the deepest team in this tournament, guys. I don't think Duke has seen a team like this yet this season. And it's real crazy because when you look at what Duke did in the tournament, blowing out Alabama, the score of 85-65. Con Knipple threw in 21 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. Those are rookie LeBron James numbers. When LeBron averaged 20.9 points, 5.8 rebounds, and 5 assists per game. I remember that specifically. Kamen Maluich. I needed a way to say his name because I don't want to disrespect the young man. But the young man from Africa over there pouring in 14 points and 9 boards in that win over a very strong Alabama team, the 2 seed that they were going against. And Cooper Flagg pouring in 16 points, 9 rebounds, and 3 assists in the game. Absolutely crazy. So Cooper Flagg, he's made an immediate impact at Duke. Not just in the regular season, ladies and gentlemen, but Cooper Flagg has done it all year long. He's averaging 18 points, 9 rebounds, and 3 blocks a game in this tournament, and he has been named the most outstanding player of the East region already, right? He is one of the most versatile and athletic players that the ACC has, well, actually, probably the most athletic and versatile player in the ACC, but one of the top 3 most versatile and athletic players in the country right now. Now, he's not Zion Williamson, where Zion at 280 was throwing down 360 windmill dunks, being helped out by RJ Barrett, who's now with the Toronto Raptors, Zion with the Pelicans, eating his way out of the league. I don't think that that's going to be a problem for Cooper Flagg, but Duke is having a very deep run, and their offense has been absolutely explosive. They're averaging 85 points a game in this tournament. They blew out Arizona in the Sweet 16 to the tune of 193. And Arizona was my pick to go all the way against Kansas in the national title game. We all know how that panned out because Kansas got their asses whooped on early in the tournament, and they went away. So my Kansas-Arizona championship game matchup is null and void, unfortunately. But I have never been a Duke believer. I'm 35, about to be 36 years old. I have seen a lot of Duke teams in my tenure watching college basketball. I go back, I remember J.J. Redick, Shavlik Randolph. I remember Randolph Childress. I'll go Grayson Allen, John Shayer, Greg Paulus, Brian Zubek. I mean, just these guys who have come to Duke and done crazy shit, right? Zion Williamson, RJ Barrett, Brandon Ingram, most recently. I've just never been a big Duke believer. And even though they always have sustained success in the regular season and they've won a couple titles in my lifetime, I think that college basketball fans feel that Duke is the Ohio State football of college basketball, where Ohio State doesn't win a national title every year, but Ohio State is consistently winning 10, 11 games a year in a 12, 13 game season, right? Ohio State is consistently much better than the competition. Duke isn't always better than the competition, or Duke is better than the competition, but Duke plays to their competition. But this year, I am seeing a completely flipped script with the Duke Blue Devils. This insane big 3 of Knipple, Maluich, and Flagg might be the best trio I've ever seen at Duke, right? When I watch the Duke Blue Devils play basketball, I've never seen them move with this fluidity before, and I've never seen 3 players just come together and gel in the way that they have on that basketball team and make something happen. I think Duke could definitely be one of the last teams standing. In fact, I truly believe they will be. Houston is a great defensive team. Houston's defense is unreal. They only allow an average of 60 points a game, right? They beat Purdue in the Sweet 16, 62-60. And like I said, they beat Tennessee 50-69. The thing is, Purdue and Tennessee, while great teams, a 2 seed and a 4 seed respectively, Big Ten basketball is great in theory, but Big Ten basketball isn't tough like the ACC or SEC. So when you beat a team like Purdue as narrowly as they did, I don't know if Houston has the necessary firepower to go up against a team like Duke. Now, if we look at it in their most recent game, like I said, LJ Cryer 17 points and Emmanuel Sharp 16 points. That's your bread and butter right there. Those are your boys. And Milos Uzan, who comes off the bench, getting 6 points, 3 assists. That might not jump off the page, but Houston plays a much more ball control, tempo controlled offense. They like to slow the game down a little bit. They like to really pick their spots. They really like to go up against a team like Duke, who is a much quicker team, who moves the ball, who pushes the pace. Houston thrives on being able to slow that down. I don't know if Houston has the necessary firepower and the necessary size to go up against a team like Duke, who boasts Maluich and Cooper Flagg in the interior. And the great thing about Flagg, guys, he can be in the interior dunking, but he can also hit the mid-range, and he can step out for the three. You've got a three-level scorer in Cooper Flagg. You've got Con Knipple, who might be the closest thing to a Grayson Allen, J.J. Redick type player that Duke's seen in quite some time. I think that this is a very special team. I would say that my prediction for this game, Duke 87, Houston 76. Duke advances to the national title game on the back of Cooper Flagg, Con Knipple, and Kaman Maluich. I think that Maluich is going to have an absolute monster game. I don't think he's going to be putting up like 25 points and 15 rebounds, but I do think he is going to dictate the way that the interior is attacked. I don't think you're necessarily going to be able to go up against him and not have your shot altered, not have your shot swatted. Like Austin Carr would say, get that weak stuff out of here. I think you're definitely going to see Duke push the pace, and that's evidenced by my score prediction, 87-76. Duke does give up some easy points in transition. Duke does, if they play a zone defense, sometimes you're going to be able to sneak it past them. Sometimes you're going to be able to hit that contested three, but there is no team that has a player that can match up with Cooper Flagg on the three different levels, especially taking a man that size out to the perimeter where he is a great lateral defender. Duke over Houston, 87-76, my final prediction for that game. And now we're going to go on to the Florida Gators versus the Auburn Tigers, which will also be on Saturday, April 5th at the Alamo Dome in San Antonio, Texas. So the Florida Gators, let's talk about a player to watch. Let's talk about a player to watch, ladies and gentlemen. And that's going to be one Mr. Walter Clayton Jr., a senior guard for the Gators, averaged 18 points a game in the regular season, dropping 30 against Texas Tech. He transferred in from Iona, a smaller mid-major school, and made a big impact in a big way at an SEC school. You love to see it. Walter Clayton Jr. has become one of my favorite players in college basketball. I love the swagger that he plays with. I love the confidence that he plays with. And we saw them the most recently. Walter Clayton Jr. goes for 30 points and 4 assists, and Thomas Haw comes off the bench and drops a 20-burger and throws in 11 rebounds as well. Absolutely stunning effort by the Florida Gators as they advance to the Final Four. And they are a very balanced attack team. Florida is one of the best things I've seen about Florida this year is Florida gets down. Florida can get down, right? They were down 12 2 weekends ago and come back and just absolutely dictate the pace of that game and come out with a huge win to get to the Elite Eight. And it's not lost on me that the Florida Gators have been good for a long time, but they've never seen the level of success, in my opinion, that a Duke team or a UConn has seen, right? Florida's always been that sneaky team. I've always taken umbrage with Florida, especially when they had the team of Al Horford, Joakim Noah, and they just ran roughshod over the Thad 5 Ohio State team that boasted Greg Oden, Daquan Cook, David Lighty, Othello Harrington, and Mike Conley Jr. I've always kind of hated them for that, right? But Florida has played a very good brand of basketball this season. And it's been really cool to see because for a while I feel like Florida became the little brother of the SEC. especially when a guy like Nate Oates at Alabama just took them to new heights, right? Tennessee losing Bruce Pearl like they did all those years ago, and now coming back to national relevance. The Auburn Tigers, who are now coached by Bruce Pearl, becoming one of the greatest teams in the SEC. Baylor, year after year after year, has done fantastic. They've had some early exits. They won a national title recently, but Florida has always been that little brother, and I think that Florida has finally stepped out of that shadow. Florida has finally asserted themselves firmly in the conversation for a top 5 program in the country. And it's not lost on me that the NIL money plays a big part in that, especially when a guy like Walter Clayton Jr. transfers in from Iona, does the damn thing, averages almost 20 points a night in a game where big schools don't usually see a 20-plus point a game score because there's so much talent on the floor that everyone eats, right? But Walter Clayton Jr. absolutely did it. Thomas Haw absolutely did it. And then you look at the Auburn Tigers, and let's talk about Joni Broome. So Joni Broome has been an absolute anchor for the Auburn Tigers in the paint, right? Named first team All-SEC, dominant force on both ends of the floor. He has been the most pivotal part of Auburn's tournament run. And I go back to the game against Michigan that catapulted Auburn into the Elite Eight, or into the Final Four. Michigan, in my opinion, was the better team for a half. I thought Michigan could pull it off. I hate saying that. I'm not a Michigan guy. As we know, I rep that Block O all day. But Auburn's Joni Broome has been absolutely pivotal. And their defense as a team is stifling. They hold opponents to an average of 68 points a night. They beat Michigan 78-65. And their defensive tenacity and the ability to control the tempo in that game can't be understated. 25 points, 14 boards for Joni Broome. You get Miles Kelly and Denver Jones each getting 8 points in that game, right? And then you go to Chaney Johnson, the unheralded young man who pulled in 8 points and 6 rebounds in that game. That is absolute madness, ladies and gentlemen. Auburn has a star in Joni Broome, but they have all these other young men who play their role and, like Houston, dictate the pace of a game. They can slow you down. They can allow you to play fast to tire you out and then attack. But no matter what happens, Joni Broome is at the front and center of that conversation. I think that Joni Broome, if Auburn wins the national title, I think Joni Broome is named most outstanding player in the tournament. Because outside of Cooper Flagg, no one else is doing the things that Joni Broome is doing. I would argue that Joni Broome is a better defender than Cooper Flagg. I would argue that Joni Broome has a much more refined game around the rim. Cooper Flagg edges Joni Broome out because Cooper Flagg can play at 3 different levels. But Joni Broome gets hurt. He lands heavy on his hip. He exits the game for a few minutes. He comes back in and absolutely dominates that shit. Rocking the rim, running the floor like nothing happened to him, right? When you have a guy like that, it's hard to stop them. It's hard to stop. But I'm going to tell you right now, if there's any team that can stop the Auburn Tigers, it's the Florida Gators. My prediction for the game, Florida 81, Auburn 80. It is going to be the closest wire-to-wire game you've ever seen in a Final Four in the last 10 years. ultimately, I think what gets it done, Florida's bench depth and the scoring ability of Walter Clayton Jr. get it done. Because Johnny Broome, like we talked about a few minutes ago, he got banged up. He's had some time to rehabilitate, get better, get healthy, and get going. But with a team like Florida, who is absolutely on fire right now, you aren't going to see, how do I want to put this? You're not going to see anyone try harder than Florida to do this, because Florida knows that they have that little brother title for quite some time. Florida knows that they've not been relevant in the national conversation for the past couple of years. But Florida finally has that breakthrough moment. Florida comes through, edges out Auburn by 1 point, and meets Duke in the national title game. The overall number 1 seed in the Duke Blue Devils versus who should have been the number 1 overall seed in the Florida Gators. Now that game is going to be absolutely wild. Going to be an absolutely wild game. Now I believe that game gets played the day after we do this podcast. So I'm going to have a much more in-depth analysis at that time. But I would like to at least go through a little preview on that. Okay? So if Duke and Florida both make the national title game, which I anticipate them doing, obviously, as I make my picks there, Cooper Flagg, as I mentioned, has no equal right now on all 3 levels. But Duke has not seen a player as dynamic as Walter Clayton Jr. in this tournament or in the regular season. I can't really think of anyone as dynamic as Walter Clayton Jr., who I think has played himself into a mid-late first-round selection with his play in this tournament. Some team might even reach for him in the lottery of the NBA draft this coming year. But Clayton is that dude. Con Knipple going up against Walter Clayton is going to be an absolute shootout. If Thomas Hoff can come off the bench again and throw in anything close to what he did with his 20-point, 11-rebound outing in his last game, Kama Miluich is going to have an absolute problem on his hands defending the rim. Now, Kama Miluich can throw that bitch down, and so can Thomas Hoff. But ultimately, I think in the end, what wins a game is going to be pace and tempo. Duke, in my opinion, pushes the ball a little bit better than Florida does. They can get out on that fast break. They can swing the ball around. They can go from 3. They can hit a mid-range, and they can go interior. Florida can also perform at all 3 levels, but Florida gets down and has clawed their way out. I don't think if you get down against a team like Duke, you are going to be able to claw your way out like you were in other games. Duke has the size. They are very freshman heavy. Duke is very freshman heavy, whereas Florida isn't as freshman heavy. They're more transfer heavy. They're more reliant on that NBA leadership, or not NBA, but basketball leadership source. I think you're going to see a game for the ages. I think it might become an instant classic. Duke edges out the Florida Gators, and Duke becomes your national champions. Duke becomes your national champions against the Florida Gators. Now, I would also like, because I'm an Ohio State guy, I'm that guy, you guys know I'm an Ohio State guy, I want to talk about the state of the program. Ohio State had a meltdown at the end of the year. Ohio State has seen a couple guys enter the transfer portal, most recently Aaron Bradshaw. Good fucking riddance. He transferred in from Kentucky. Now he's transferring out. He's too thin. He refuses to gain weight. He refuses to focus on any type of academics. And before anyone comes in here saying, oh, well, he's a basketball player, I don't give a shit if he's a basketball player or not. Cardell Jones said, we're here to play football. We ain't here to play school. That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life. You are absolutely there to play school and play basketball or football or baseball or what have you. You are a student athlete. If you remove student from the conversation and are just an athlete, which I think that might be the way that it's going here in the future, that's fine. But when he left the team at the beginning of the season and it later came out because of some academic problems, you don't have my sympathy. I didn't want that dude on the team anymore. And I'm glad he's leaving. John Diebler, I think has gotten a very he's gotten a very bad rap as a first full year head coach. He took over midseason last year. And now he's really getting into being able to mold this team into his own. And the era of transfers, I think he needs to now, the onus is on him after missing out on Darren Peterson, the number 1 overall recruit who's from Ohio, going to Kansas. He needs to look towards the transfer portal. And 2 guys I would keep my eye on if I were an Ohio State basketball fan would be Milos Ilic from Loyola Marymount University out in Chicago. The international big man, averaged 14 points and 7 boards a night for Loyola Marymount. And Price Sanford from Iowa, 8.5 points a game, but shot 40% from 3. Bennett Stieritz is transferring to Iowa because his head coach from Drake got hired at Iowa. So Bennett Stieritz goes where he goes, right? I respect that. But Price Sanford, who was an absolute field general for the Hawkeyes this last year, now would see a role reduction because Bennett Stieritz proved to be that guy at Drake. Price Sanford would be an absolute game and program changer for us because guys like John Mobley Jr., who are 3-point shooters for Ohio State, now you add another guard who can shoot the 3. It opens up so much for the Buckeyes. I really hope that John Diebler, when he looks into the transfer portal, looks at these 2 guys. I think that would be absolute win to get those guys on the Buckeye program. Ohio State is a football school first and foremost, but Ohio State is also a destination school. Ohio State's a national brand, right? They are a brand. They're a college first and a brand second. But that brand and college are kind of becoming neck and neck now because they've just won a national title in football. Their baseball team is amazing. An alumni of theirs finished as the top amateur at the Masters last year for golf, and Neil Shipley. You are seeing more and more prolific players come in and out of the Ohio State program. The women's basketball team has been prolific for as long as I can remember. They were a 4 seed in the women's tournament. They got bounced kind of early. It was a bit of an off year for them, but that's a pretty lofty standard. Ohio State men's basketball has been looked at as a joke for a while, and I think that that's merited because we are 19 years removed from the last meaningful recruiting class of the Fad 5. We did have D'Angelo Russell, who was the number 2 overall pick in the NBA draft by the Los Angeles Lakers in the mid-2010s. D'Lo is still in the league. He's tearing it up. He was gone from the Lakers to the Timberwolves to the Warriors to the Nets, back to the Lakers, and now back to the Nets. D'Lo is that guy. He's a great scorer. We haven't gotten, as an Ohio State team, a great recruit in a long time. I don't think getting great recruits matters as much necessarily anymore when you can hit the transfer portal. Because in this era of NIL, getting the bag is all that really matters to these kids. And I get it, but Ohio State needs to reassert itself as a dominant college basketball program. one of the greatest NBA players of all time played for the Ohio State Buckeyes and Jerry West. The literal logo of the NBA played for Ohio State. Jimmy Jackson played for Ohio State. You had Greg Oden, Mike Conley Jr., D'Angelo Russell. Great players have come out of Ohio State. And now we need to reassert ourselves as a dominant force. And where does it start? It starts in the transfer portal by grabbing guys like Milos Ilic and Price Sanford. I thought Aaron Bradshaw might be that guy. I was super pumped because he was a Calipari recruit at Kentucky, and it didn't work out, and that's fine. Sometimes things don't work out. I imagine Bradshaw's going to transfer down to Arkansas to be with Calipari again. I don't know. We're going to talk much more about college basketball. I want to know what you guys think. Please drop us a line. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to our channel, our videos on our Facebook and our YouTube so that we can keep bringing you fantastic content every week. I want to know what you guys think needs to be done to reassert Ohio State being back as one of the feared programs in college basketball. We're already a feared team in women's basketball. We're already a feared team on the Sandlot. We're already a feared team on the gridiron, and our golf team is not bad at all. Let's make Ohio State basketball great again. You know, Anthony, Trump has hats that say "Make America Great Again," and they're red and white, right?
Right.
So how cool of a marketed thing would it be if it said "Make OSU basketball great again" because their colors are white or scarlet, gray, and white? That'd be such a great marketing tool. I'd buy the shit out of one of them hats.
Yeah, people do that with a lot of stuff. It's a good idea.
It's a great idea. I think I should patent that shit.
Well, good luck.
Now, Anthony, you pulled up something really interesting.
Yeah, I was going to bring this up to you. This is hilarious.
So run me through it real quick.
Okay, so I didn't read it, but here, let's see if I can get this to pop up here.
Okay.
Oh, shit. What did I do? Hold on, bear with me a second. I wasn't ready for you yet.
And I think I know where you're going with this by bringing it up.
Okay.
So Anthony's working on it, but
yeah. Oh, go ahead.
No, you introduce it. Introduce it to me.
Okay. All right. So I just scrolling through Facebook and I see that where the I see that the NBA is looking into Ja Morant over a gesture that he made during a game.
Okay. What was the gesture?
The gesture was his. Oh my gosh, bro! There's so many windows. His gesture was hands, like gun hands, right?
Okay.
Right? So I really want to show you this, but it is not.
So let me just say this, brother. Let me just say this. I think I have seen the finger guns.
Yes.
I have seen that celebration become so much more popular in the NBA and the NFL and NCAA football. I've seen that become one of the most go-to celebratory taunts, right?
Right.
I have no problem with it because, bro, you're shooting, man. You know what I mean? Like, they're shooting.
All right, so here, let me pull this up here.
Reminds me of the Jadakiss song.
All right, so sources, NBA probes finger guns gesture by Grizzlies Ja Morant.
Okay.
All right, so then it talks about Ja Morant using his hands and arms to mimic shooting a gun towards Golden State Warriors bench late in Thursday night's game between Western Conference rival. The league probe will also look into Warriors guard gesture head.
Buddy Hield.
Wow. So what did he do though?
I have no idea what Buddy Hield did.
Okay.
I forgot that Buddy Hield played basketball.
All right, so this isn't about Buddy. This is about Ja. So the incident occurred during a timeout with 20.1 seconds remaining in the Warriors' 134-125 road win over the Grizzlies. As Morant walked toward the Grizzlies bench on the other side of the court, he formed imaginary guns with his fingers on both hands, pointing them toward the Warriors bench with his left arm fully extended. The referees issued double technical fouls to Morant and Hield. Okay, so I don't know if you know Ja Morant's past or anybody who follows him, but here, check it out. Let's see. So this is This is Ja. I'm pretty sure
That's
that
him.
was last night. But
Yep.
here, let's look. So this is from the Daily Mail. This video pulled up. I haven't watched it yet, but let's see. I haven't seen this whole incident. So I'm curious what it's gonna look like here. Uh-huh. He mowed down the whole bench. Okay. So that was the gesture. That looks like
Yeah.
maybe, I don't know if this is another game or if this was last night. But here's the thing. Ja does it all the time. Here's another picture of him doing it, right? He always makes this motion. Like you said, it is common in
I get it.
all these, right?
It's very common, but let me tell you why it's problematic.
Oh, wait, hold on. Here's one right here. This is, hold on. So I just want to highlight this real fast before we move on.
Yeah.
So let's just go right here. So,
Don't even pull up Dexter Henry because he pisses me off. I fucking hate Dexter Henry.
All right, so this is Ja doing it. Looked like a while back,
Yeah,
right? You
that's
can
a
see
while
that
ago.
there.
That's their old jersey.
But here, this is the funny thing. He was doing that amidst celebration as police report dramas. All right.
Yes.
So yeah, he was going through his own shit back then about brandishing a weapon. Yeah, Morant flashed a gun at a teen he allegedly hit last summer. Right? So he's flashing guns at people.
And he threatened a mall security guard, dude.
I missed that one.
Yeah, so this is why that's problematic, okay? He goes on, things happen, athletes get accused of shit all the time, whether it's true, untrue, whatever. I don't really care because I'm not asking you to be my role model. I'm asking you to fucking perform on TV and show entertainment.
What does that have?
What you're doing?
What
right?
does that? What does that have to do with?
I'm getting to that.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm getting to that.
No, I know, and I think I know where you're going, but I think my question's going to remain. But I'll let you go ahead.
So you're having the gun finger celebration, right? You've been, my brother in Christ, you have been accused of brandishing firearms and intimidating people with firearms, using firearms. You've been nonchalant about these things, and it's just not good for a public image. Or going back and looking at when you say you're remorseful for what you did, now you're still doing that celebration. It completely takes your argument that you are sorry for what you did or that you're trying to be better or whatever. I understand that they're imaginary finger guns, but at the same time, you're almost making a mockery of what you were accused of and what you did, right? Like it kind of, so imagine this, Anthony, right? Deshaun Watson, who was in trouble for the massages, right?
Right.
Imagine if Deshaun Watson ran in for a touchdown, right? He runs in for a touchdown, and what do all football players do when they score a touchdown? They do celebrations. Well, what do they also do? Team celebrations, right? Like that's become more popular now, right?
Yeah.
Imagine if Deshaun Watson laid down on the ground and one of the other players grabbed his like hand towel that he wears to like wipe his hands off, grabbed that, threw it over his dick, and then just started rubbing on him, right? And then they're all laughing about it. That's a mockery of the situation that you put yourself in by getting the massages allegedly and being in trouble for it, right? That's how I compare that. Like you're making a mockery of a situation you got in trouble for, almost calling out like, hey, I don't really fucking care. I'm going to keep doing this. And again, I don't necessarily have a problem with it. I do have a problem with assaulting women. I think that that's disgusting and gross. I also have a problem with John Morant doing this because it's like, brother, like you made this big thing about how you're going to be better and how you need to be more cognizant of these things, and then you go and you do this. Like that's just not cool, in my opinion. Do I think he has a right to celebrate? Absolutely. This dude's, Anthony, have you watched John Morant highlights?
I watched. My wife's grandmother is her favorite basketball player is John Morant,
and deservedly so.
She's 85 and she follows the Grizzlies and Ja on Facebook, and she knows when they're playing. She told me that about them firing their head coach. She's on her shit.
Yeah, Taylor Jenkins gets fired. Can we talk about that real quick? The Grizzlies were in second place in the Western Conference. They've lost 6 of 7 games, I believe, and now they're the 6th seed. But dude, they're still in the playoffs. Like, let the dude finish the year out.
Yeah, it was pretty wild.
Like, that's like when the Cavs fired Ty Lue after he won them a title. Like, come the fuck on, dude. Like, I don't think Taylor Jenkins is the greatest coach in the NBA, but I mean, he obviously had support of the locker room and everything because players are pissed off about it from what I've read. Like, but do you see what I'm saying about Ja Morant?
I can understand why. No, I understand why it's probably bad for him to do it.
Yes.
You know, like if somebody else, like I watched Tristan Thompson because, you know, Tristan, anytime anybody splashes a three, he makes the gun fingers.
Yeah.
As like 3-pointers. But it's all right. But it's also, yeah, I mean, it's a play on all of it because he's shooting, but there's also 3 fingers, so it's a 3-pointer. Like, I get it. Now for Ja, and for Ja to aim at the bench, I mean, personally, I don't care that much because it's like it's part of the game. You're supposed to get in the other team's head.
You are.
Right? Now when it comes to actual, like if it progresses into actual violence, then obviously there's a problem there. But
correct.
But as far as the gesture itself, nope, I'm shooting at y'all. That's all I see it as.
And again, I don't care if you do it, right? But there's certain things like John Morant probably should be doing that. Deshaun Watson should probably never do that celebration that
If he did, it would be hilarious.
It would be funny. It'd be funny because he would look like such a fucking idiot.
And you know, all right. So the whole situation is not funny, but
No.
because I don't to be honestly, I don't know the details of the whole situation.
But
like imagine one of his teammates just comes over and rubs his shoulder and then he smacks his teammate's ass or something.
Dude, that'd be wild. Like let me ask you this question. When an athlete like John Morant, who's been accused of these things and it was proven that he did it, and he goes and he does that, right? Is it a mockery and it's malicious, or is it a complete lack of self-awareness?
See, I don't think it's either of those, actually. I think it's kind of a I'm going to do whatever I want anyways attitude. Like, I mean, honestly, he's not doing anything illegal. Maybe the flashing of the gun, but then again, I don't think he was actually charged with anything.
No, he was never charged with anything. But here's the thing. The Memphis Grizzlies. So you and I were 35, 36 years old. All right. We've watched basketball, right? When's the last time the Grizzlies were ever relevant before Ja Morant?
Like doing as well as I have been since he's been on the team.
Yes.
It's never that I can remember, but
I will push you to.
So what? This is Ja's. Is it a second or third year?
No, it's like his 5th or 6th.
Has he been in that long?
Yeah, he's been in the league a while. The last time the Grizzlies were actually good was when Pau Gasol was on the team. Okay? Pau Gasol got traded to the Lakers to play with Kobe Bryant. So that's how long. And they won titles. Pau and Kobe and Lamar Odom won titles together. Like, I think it was like 2009, I want to say. But whatever it was, that's the last time the Grizzlies were actually relevant, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, I mean, they had some all right years. I mean, they made the playoffs a few times. They're pretty decent. But the thing is, there's talk. Because, all right, Jimmy Butler got traded this year. Luka Doncic got traded this year, right? Superstars are on the move. Recently, there was an article saying that the next big player that will probably be traded is Ja Morant.
Yeah, I mean, they were talking about this the other day. I forgot who they were playing, but yeah, that was a topic of discussion, him leaving the team.
So here's the thing. You don't trade a player of John Morant's caliber when you are a mid-market team. The Dallas Mavericks had the luxury of trading Luka Doncic because Dallas is a big market, right? So they can attract free agents. They can attract a Kyrie Irving. They can attract say Jason Tatum from the Celtics, right? One of the biggest players in the game. Say the Celtics let him walk. Dallas could be in the conversation to grab Jason Tatum. Donovan Mitchell could grab him if he became a free agent, right? Memphis doesn't have that luxury because Memphis is a mid-market team. You don't trade away a superstar caliber player like John Morant because you're not going to net a good enough return. Yeah, you can get first round picks, but under the NBA's Stepien rule, you can't acquire consecutive first round picks from a team. So if, like, let's say the Grizzlies traded him to the Cavs, right? They couldn't trade their 2026 and 2027 and 2028 first round picks for him. They would have to go 2026 and 2028. This is just examples because the Cavs don't have a first round pick for a while. But if you're trading John Morant, that means you're tired of his shit, right? And that sucks because he's a great basketball player. He's a great basketball player. The dude can do things. You know who he reminds me of? He reminds me of Allen Iverson and Vince Carter if they had a baby and that was the player. John Morant's unreal. So why do you trade him? Because you're tired of his shit, right? Who do they have on the team outside of him? They have Jaren Jackson Jr., who's great. Jaren Jackson Jr. is a great forward. But Jaren Jackson Jr. alone isn't winning you games. John Morant will win you games by himself.
They didn't do too bad actually when he was out.
No, they didn't. They didn't because they have a good supporting cast. But you knew John Morant was coming back in 10, 11 games.
Yeah.
Right? If John Morant's not there, that's 82 games. With a Jaren Jackson-led team, you're probably winning 33 to 37 games. And in the Western Conference, that don't even get you the 10 seed anymore because the West is stacked. I think that if you look at the entirety of it, did John Morant make a mistake? Absolutely. Did John Morant taunt a conference rival and get in their heads? Yes. But did it work? No, because the Warriors ended up winning.
Yeah.
And it's hard to beat the Warriors when they're churning on all cylinders, man. Like, Steph Curry, the greatest shooter of all time. Jimmy Butler might be one of the greatest defenders that there is. And Draymond Green, possibly the best Mr. Ed lookalike I've ever seen in my life. And a great basketball player. But if John Morant gets traded, I will guarantee you it's not to a Western Conference team. I will guarantee you it's to another mid-level team who needs help. Because a well-ran organization like the Celtics, they aren't taking him on. They just aren't. Miami ain't taking him on. You saw they got tired of Jimmy Butler's shit so quick, and Pat Riley doesn't give a fuck. He'll just tell you to get out of town, right? The Milwaukee Bucks could never afford him. The Cavs don't need him. The Magic could use John Morant. Could you imagine the Magic with John Morant? God, that'd be a fucking sick team. They might win a title if John Morant went to the Magic. Because you got John Morant, the Wagner brothers, Paulo Banchero, Jalen Suggs. Sheesh. That's a team right there. And Orlando's my second favorite team, so I might actually fuck with John Morant at that point. But I want to thank you for bringing that to my attention because I didn't even fucking think about John Morant, man.
Yeah, bro. And yeah, I want to share this too.
What do you want to share with me, baby?
Yeah, there you go. You know, just that's breaking out the biggest guns.
That's a missile.
Yeah.
That's a missile.
He said, I'm flashing it.
That's right.
Do we have a problem? You know what's crazy is they actually kind of look quite a bit alike now that I'm looking at it, like in the face wise.
Yeah. Who?
Marlon and Ja. Like
Marlon Wayans and John Morant.
yeah, like
I can see
that,
it.
Like that almost fits on there pretty well.
Dude, that looks like the guy from Scary Movie, Ray. That looks like Ray from Scary Movie.
Do you not know what this picture is from, Tom?
No, Major Payne, isn't it?
No.
What's it from?
This is from Friday.
I've never seen Friday.
Shut the get out of my house now. Get out.
I've never seen it. I have no desire to see it.
Are you shitting me?
I have no desire to see it.
You've never seen Friday.
I don't think Ice Cube's a very good actor. I don't think that Chris Tucker's particularly funny. And I'm just gonna be honest with you. If I wanted to watch a movie about smoking weed, I just take a video of myself on an iPhone and watch it later. You know what I mean? Like, whatever.
No, I'm sorry. That's not from Friday. Hold on. No, I'm sorry. That's I don't know why I said Friday. I still can't believe you haven't seen Friday.
It's one of my younger brother's favorite movies. Speaking of favorite movies,
Yeah.
I want to talk about favorite movies in a moment.
Just a correction. That's from Don't Be a Menace.
I've never seen that either.
Yeah, we gotta get you hip, Tom.
You got to. I mean, I'm willing to try, but you know. So I'm glad that you brought up movies because I was talking to a couple buddies over the weekend and we were talking about our favorite sports movies of all time. And it really got me thinking. Anthony, do you have a favorite sports movie?
I know I had one when I was a kid. Yeah, what was the name of it? It was about the kid who he slipped on a baseball and
Rookie of the Year.
Yes.
That was a great movie.
Yep. Or his arm was just he could throw like 100 mile an hour. Yeah. Yep.
And Marv from the Sticky Bandits was stuck between the hotel rooms, man. And he had a huge chaw in his mouth. That was funny as fuck.
Yeah, that was mine when I was a kid. As an adult, as an adult, mine is probably still the original Space Jam.
Okay. So I gave this a lot of thought.
No, hold on, real quick. On a serious note, it'd have to be probably like The Longest Yard or something, or Remember the Titans, something like that.
That's
just
a great
very,
movie.
or something like that. Very, very inspirational sports movies.
I respect that. So I'm going to hit you with my 5 favorite sports films of all time. And I'm going to start in descending order. So
Right.
The 5th best sports movie I've ever seen, The Iron Claw, came out last year. You ever hear of it?
No.
So it's a movie about wrestling. It's a true story about the Von Erich family. Zac Efron and Jeremy Allen White are in the movie, amongst others.
Oh my gosh, I saw not even a clip, just a picture of Zac Efron from that movie, and I just read the comments under it, and it definitely sounds like a movie I want to see. I heard it was a very, very, very sad story, and they cut out a lot of stuff.
I'm literally like tingling right now because like some shit is playing in my head from that movie, and my wife and I were watching it, and she looked over at me and I didn't think she saw, but I can think of 2 occasions I was crying. And at the very, very end, of that movie, I was sobbing at the end of that movie. And it's about wrestling, dude. Like, it's about WCW, WWF. And the tragedy that this family endured and tried to come out of. And Zac Efron's character he's the real dude. And and you think about it like it's a movie, but when you put yourself in his shoes and like the pain that he went through, like losing his brothers, losing his dad pretty much because his dad was such a fucking asshole, like it just destroyed me inside, man. And I think it's one of the best sports movies I've ever seen, and I would recommend it to anyone. Number 4, and this is a baseball dominated list. Moneyball with Brad Pitt and Jonah Hill. About the Oakland Athletics and Billy Beane, the general manager. Brad Pitt plays Billy Beane, the GM. It's one of Chris Pratt's first movie roles. he plays a baseball player on the team. It's about the Oakland Athletics and the notion that these mid-market teams can't always afford players like the New York Yankees can. So what do? You replicate a player with 3 other players that can emulate their stats. And it became a very big movement in baseball, and analytics started to go to the forefront. And I'm a big analytics guy when it comes to sports, and baseball especially. I don't think that analytics works in football. Paul Podesta, who Jonah Hill plays in the movie, not in name, but that's who the character's based on. He is now the head analytics guy for the Cleveland Browns. And something's not fucking working because the Browns still suck. But that movie, the way it was shot, the way that everything was done, Aaron Sorkin did such an amazing job. I put it at number 4. Number 3, Major League with Charlie Sheen. You ever see that one?
Major League.
It's the Cleveland Indians. They're the Cleveland Indians.
Oh, this is young Charlie Sheen, right?
Yes. The Indians are trying to sell the team, so she's trying to tank it, and the manager comes out, Lou Brown comes out. Well, there's only one thing left to do. If Major League is on TV, I drop what I'm doing and I watch it. Wesley Snipes, and oh my god, dude. Tyler Griffith in the chat. What's he up to? TG working it to the core. Daddy, what's up? Number 2. My number 2 all-time favorite sports movie is The Sandlot. You remember Sandlot?
Of course.
I have the most fond memories of being a kid and watching that movie with my dad and my mom and laughing, and it's so relatable when you're a little kid. And loving baseball the way that I did and still do. And when I see that movie, it brings me back to being, I'm 35 years old. It brings me back to being that little kid again. And how everything was just so much more simple. And how all you cared about was being with your buddies and playing something that you loved. And I think that movie captures those emotions. It's meant for the kids because it teaches you so many lessons about life and how baseball can be applied to life and how friendship can be applied to life, and mistakes. You make mistakes, but what you do with the mistakes is what defines you as a person. But when you look back at it as an adult, you really see other things, like those dudes that you grew up with. How even though you've gone to different parts of the world, different parts of life, different walks of life, different jobs, occupations, there's a scene at the end of the movie where Smalls, the main character and the narrator, is now the announcer for the LA Dodgers. And Benny, who was the best player on the team in The Sandlot, is now the star player for the Dodgers. And Benny makes a great play at the end of the game, and Benny looks up to the box, the announcer's box, and he looks at Smalls, and he like nods his head and smiles and like tips his cap a little bit, and Smalls does the same thing back. And it just makes me think of being an adult and seeing my friends like you, Anthony, doing your thing, Dave doing his thing, David doing his thing, Willie doing his thing, but we see each other, and you know, and we're proud of each other, and we're happy for each other. And even though life has taken us to different places, we always have those memories of when we were younger, or those new memories that we're making together, right? That's what makes it the best movie to me, because it really reaffirms different parts about life, and it doesn't have to be baseball. It can be anything, right? And The Sandlot really brings all that together for me. But my favorite sports movie of all time, number 1, hands down, Any Given Sunday. You ever hear of that one?
Absolutely.
My favorite sports movie of all time, directed by one of my favorite directors of all time, Oliver Stone. Jamie Foxx plays Steamin' Willie Beeman, young quarterback, third-string quarterback that's thrust into duty when Captain Captain Jack Quaid goes down, and then his backup goes down too, and he's got to lead the San Jose Sharks to, or not San Jose, but he's got to lead the Sharks to a championship game appearance. And Al Pacino plays the head coach, Tony D'Amato. Lawrence Taylor plays Shark Laveau. LL Cool J. LL Cool J is the running back in the movie, and there's a part in that movie. I don't know if you know much about this, Anthony, but LL Cool J and Jamie Foxx don't really like each other, and in real life. And there's a point in the movie where they're arguing, and LL Cool J's character looks at Jamie Foxx's character and goes, "What did you just say to me?" And Jamie Foxx is basically insinuating, if you weren't just playing to get your money for the yards, we'd be better off, because if you actually played because you love the game, we'd be doing better. And LL Cool J is like insulted by that. He's like, I'll take your fucking life. And then he goes to hit him, and he wasn't supposed to hit him, but LL Cool J socked him. And it was real life, and they had to separate them. They had to cut, and they had to get everyone calmed down. There was such an authenticity to that movie. And it really showed like the underbelly of football, and it really made me understand for the first time when I was like a teenager that just because these guys have good smiles and they do all this stuff in the community and they're good athletes doesn't mean that they're great people. And that really desensitized me to things that happened later in life, like Michael Vick with the dogs, Ray Rice hitting his wife. Not that these weren't deplorable things, but I understood from a young age that these guys aren't necessarily good people just because they're good football players. So I really attribute that to my perception of sports. And I think that just the way the movie was done and the way the movie was shot was absolutely amazing. And I don't think that can ever be understated. Now, Tyler over here, the longest yard, come on. I'm not an Adam Sandler guy, Tyler. I don't think Adam Sandler's funny. I think that
movie is hilarious.
No, he's not.
That shit was hilarious.
There's two Adam Sandler movies that I like. There's two. I like Uncut Gems, where he plays a gambling addict. It was fantastic. The Safdie brothers did that film. Amazing. And then a Netflix movie that he did last year or the year before called Spaceman, where he's an astronaut in space all alone on a shuttle, and he is visited by alien life form that he becomes friends with. And it wasn't a comedy. It was a dead serious movie. Very serious movie.
And what's that called?
Spaceman. If
you
want a good movie, Spaceman is it.
I'll check it out.
I'm telling you, like,
Adam Sandler makes good movies, man. Like, even the very deep movie, like Click. Click was okay. Click was an amazing movie that really made you appreciate time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It did.
So yeah, I think Adam Sandler makes great movies.
I'm not gonna say he does. Maybe I should reform how I say this. Adam Sandler makes very appealing films. He makes very appealing films to people. But
50 First Dates, Baby Daddy,
Spanglish. You ever see Spanglish with Salma Hayek?
I don't think I've seen that one.
Yeah, he is a celebrity chef, and Salma Hayek is his maid/nanny who he hires that can't speak English, but her daughter can, and he falls in love with her because he's in like a loveless marriage.
Mm-hmm.
I think Adam Sandler is a much better serious actor than people give him credit for. I didn't really like Happy Gilmore. I didn't like The Waterboy at all. There's only one part in The Waterboy I actually like, and it's at the end of the movie.
Hilarious. What?
At the end of the movie, when he gets married and his dad comes, "Hey, Bobby, it's me, your daddy, Roberto." Like, that part cracked me up. But Farmer Fran, I thought Farmer Fran was pretty funny. But I just like grown-ups. How many fucking times can you do the same thing? How many times can you do the same thing and milk it, dude? Like, and I won't discredit Adam Sandler has his boys, and he puts them on.
They ride for each other hard.
David Spade, Nick Swardson, Chris Rock, Kevin James. You know who Kevin James is, right?
Yes.
From King of Queens?
Yes.
Kevin James, the King of Queens is one of my top 2 favorite shows of all time. I have watched that show front to back probably about 10 times. I love that show because I feel like I am Doug Heffernan. Except I sell cars, I don't deliver mail. And my wife's a smoke show like Carrie in King of Queens. So I see a lot of Carrie in my wife. So it kind of turns me on. But yeah, so I mean, those are my favorite sports films of all time. And I've really come to appreciate the art of a sports film. It's definitely something that isn't done enough because I don't think that people can do it well. There's some honorable mentions. Tin Cup with Kevin Costner. You ever see that one?
I have not.
So he's a golfer. Trying to win an event. He's going up against Don Johnson, who's a fucking asshole in that movie. I hate Don Johnson, just in general. I never thought he was a good actor. Another honorable mention sports movie that I would go with would probably be He Got Game. He Got Game's very good. Love and Basketball is good. The Basketball Diaries with Leonardo DiCaprio, the true story.
Haven't seen it.
So Leonardo DiCaprio is a Catholic high school basketball player who gets addicted to heroin.
Deep.
It's a true story. Like, it really happened. Actually, Adam Sandler made a really good sports movie with Hernan Gomez, who actually plays in the NBA, called Rebound. That was a good movie. I actually liked Adam Sandler in that movie. He was good. Kind of unrealistic how it all played out, but still a good movie with a good message. What's a sleeper pick? Cool Runnings.
Some old school.
That's old school. Mr. John Candy, R.I.P. R.I.P. to John Candy, but about the Jamaican bobsled team.
Yeah.
Great movie, dude. Great movie. What's for you? If you were looking for something that hasn't been done before, what would you want to see out of a sports movie that would get you hooked?
I would probably have to say I'm very analytical and like in that sense. I would want to see probably a drama about a guy who makes a shit ton of money and the league and the people are trying to hold him back from his greatness, but he just likes to be, do his own thing, whether it's, carry guns or aim fake guns at people. And, and then he just wins a title one year and then everybody loves him and he just flashes guns at everybody.
Okay, so you want to see like a biography of John Moran if he ever wins the NBA title?
We'll say, well, motherfucker, do we have a problem?
You know what I would really like to see for a sports movie? There's two.
Gridiron Gang, Tyler said, very good movie.
Gridiron Gang was good with The Rock. Blindside
Angels in the
was
Outfield,
great.
yes.
Angels in the Outfield, Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Blindside, another one, yes.
Blindside was a great movie, but it was all fake. Yeah, we actually talked about that in one of our earlier episodes.
Yeah.
I would like to see two movies based on real life. I'd like to see the Johnny Manziel story, like the whole thing.
Don't they have a 30 for 30 on that?
They do, but I'm talking like a movie, like where someone plays Johnny.
Like that'd be interesting.
And not Timothy Chalamet. You know what I mean?
Wait, you know what? a good documentary I watched was
What?
was he a Pats fan? The crazy Pats fan who like used to bet and like blow all this money and used to rob banks. He would rob banks. Yeah, he would rob banks, and he was a famous, like very famous fan, like super fan, and he would rob banks to place bets on the teams, on just place bets on teams in general. But yeah, he would rob banks. Let me see if I can find
That's real?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Holy
shit. There's a documentary about it, and where they're following him through his like through court and everything, and then he ends up skipping town and just bounces.
That's wild. Another sports movie I would love to see is a movie, not a documentary, because I already did it. I would like to see a movie.
Oh, Chiefs fan. Yeah.
Chiefs super fan.
Chiefsaholic.
Chiefsaholic. I've heard of him.
Yes.
They've already did a documentary, which was amazing. The story of the Florida Gators with Tim Tebow. Like a whole ass movie. Tyler, you're right. Aaron Hernandez's show was very good. The FX one. Ryan Murphy did it though, who made American Horror Story. And like, the first episode I'm watching it, I look down at my phone because actually, Tyler, I think you were texting me and I looked up and I just saw a fucking big veiny cock on my TV. And I was like, yeah, I'm fucking done. Like that's just too big for me. I got to turn this off. The Aaron Hernandez shit is fucking wild. I can't wait until there's like an actual movie. But if you're going to make like, I actually thought of this the other day. A Rob Gronkowski movie would be hilarious too. Like a story of Rob Gronkowski's life. And you know who they should get to play him? The guy that plays Reacher in that Amazon Prime show, Alan Ritchson, who was on that show Blue Mountain State. Look up a picture of Alan Ritchson.
Richson?
Yeah, Rich. Yeah.
That guy?
Yeah. Tell me that dude wouldn't play a great Gronk. I mean, because you know what Gronk looks like.
Yeah.
Look at the picture of this
jacked,
dude with the
bro.
shirt off. Not to be fucking weird, but
Yeah, he's jacked.
he's jacked as fuck. Like, that dude could be Gronk. That dude could be Gronk all day. Like, and if you give him the personality of Thad Castle from Blue Mountain State, you've got Gronk right there. You've got Gronk. If you were going to make a movie about Aaron Hernandez, Jason Momoa is probably the only dude that even slightly looks like him that could play him. Vin Diesel, before he became Vin Regular Gas on Pump 35, could have been him back in the day, but Vin's too fat now. Would you consider Fast and Furious a sports movie?
Maybe Tokyo Drift.
Yeah.
The rest of them, probably not so much, because there's only ever like one like competition scene ever in any of these fucking movies anymore. Like probably the first two or maybe three Fast and Furious. Actually, I would consider some kind of sports.
Yeah.
Because they actually raced. In these newer movies, I don't know that they race. It's all just like bank heists and shit like that.
Brother. So in 2020, me and an old coworker of mine, Felix Rivera, we went to a training in Indianapolis for Corvettes. And it was my birthday that week. And we were there on my birthday. And Felix knew because we were buddies. And he said, I'm going to take you out for your birthday tonight. And I said, oh, what are we going to do? He's like, well, I know you love movies, so we're going to go see a movie. I said, all right, cool. Because they just opened movie theaters back up. This man pays for it and takes me to see Fast and the Furious 9. Okay? Now, mind you, I haven't seen Fast and Furious since the third one. So I had no idea what was going on. And it was actually pretty cool. You know what I mean? Like, it was fun. I was with a buddy of mine at the time, and, you know, we were eating popcorn. We were one of the only people in the theaters. We were laughing, hanging out, having a great time. And then it totally took me out when they took a Pontiac Fiero to outer space and drove it in outer space. Like, what the fuck?
Wait, they drove? How do you drive it in outer space?
I'm still trying to figure the logistics of it out. Like, to this day, it bothers me. Like, I can buy pretty much anything else. I can suspend belief for a bit. But they drove a whole ass Pontiac Fiero in outer space. Like, what the fuck? Like, thank you to Felix for bringing me to a movie on my birthday. I definitely appreciated that. But that was just some wild shit. Do we got some activity in the chat? I'm hearing beeps. I'm hearing beeps, baby. Oh, give me a 30 for 30 about Jameis Winston. Oh my, dude, the opening scene. The opening scene is just Jameis eating a fucking crab leg and the butter's like running down his mouth and he starts laughing and then he goes, I'm going to tell you a story about me and how the Lord saved me. Jameis Winston's fucking great, man. Like, I'm actually really sad that he left Cleveland because at least he made shit bearable. Like, Jameis, how does it feel to win tonight? Well, you know, the dogs of war came out barking today, and I ate a pepperoni pizza, and on that pizza, the cheese had a lot of grease, and that grease lubricated the wheels of winning. What the fuck are you talking about, dude? Like, just answer the fucking question. That's how I felt about him half the time, but I appreciated Jameis and all he did for Cleveland, but yeah, Jameis Winston, 30 for 30 would be wild. But we're going to end the show tonight, guys. We're running a little late, and I haven't ate all day today. So I got to get home and see my wife and kid. I appreciate you all for tuning in tonight. You've all made the cut, and we appreciate you as always. It is April 2nd in the year of our Lord 2025, and the next time we see you guys, we're going to be talking about who won in the Final Four. See if my predictions were right. Go ahead and drop a like and a comment on the video. Share our stream on your Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever, or DuckDuckGo, whatever you've got. You know, send us a line this week. Let us know what your favorite sports movie of all time is. What you'd like to see made into a sports movie. That'd be a fun topic of conversation. Next week, I am going to ask you guys what your top 5 favorite athletes of who your top 5 favorite athletes of all time are. So do your research, make your lists, send them in, or interact with us on the show because that's going to be a segment next week. Who your top 5 favorite athletes of all time are. Anthony, I need you to do me a favor for next week. So I'm a little bit older, so I have a little bit of a more extensive list of favorite athletes of all time. This week, I want you to ask your son who his 5 favorite athletes of all time are. I want you to write them down.
I can tell you right now.
I don't want to know right now. I want to know next week for discussion. But we're going to talk about that because I want to see what the pre-13-year-olds, who their favorite athletes are.
My son, I can tell you right now, my son is not going to give you like current players.
That's fine.
Just a heads up. My
That's
son
fine.
is pretty well versed on some history.
I know he's well versed in his history, and that's why I want to know. So my list is
this is all athletes, all sports, or what?
all sports, and that isn't just the big 4 either of NBA, MLB, NFL, or NHL. This is college athletes because there is a difference between the college athlete and the pro athlete, right? UFC fighters, boxers, golfers, curlers, you know, break dancers, whomever. They're all athletes, baby. They're all athletes. Maybe you got a favorite mathlete. Maybe you got a favorite spelling bee champion. You know, who knows? But make your lists for next week. Let me know who your top 5 favorite athletes of all time are. Now, for me, I have favorite athletes that I never saw play in person, like live on TV, but I've seen them on YouTube and in documentaries, so I have that list as well. But for my purposes, I'm doing the current players that I've seen. Or maybe not even current, maybe retired players too. Maybe I'll foray into the guys I never saw play, but I've seen videos of them and my parents talked about them. We'll get into that. But thank you guys so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure doing this tonight. Thank you so much to Tyler for interacting with us. I'll see you guys next week on The Cut. I'm Tom Roth. You got Anthony Aquendo behind the screen there. We appreciate you, Anthony, and everything you do for us. Have a great evening, guys. Be well, stay healthy, stay safe, and love yourself. Have a good evening.